He helped two young alien sisters. 22 years later, they returned changed forever. The Martian wind howled against the reinforced windows of Research Station Kepler. 9 as Dr. Marcus Chin made his final rounds for the night. At 35, he dedicated his life to studying extraterrestrial biology, but in 3 years on Mars, he'd never encountered actual alien life until the sensor alarm shrieked through the cargo bay. Marcus sprinted down the sterile corridors, his heart hammering. Pirates had been raiding supply ships lately, and protocol demanded he seal himself in the safe room. But curiosity, that dangerous, beautiful curse of every scientist, pulled him forward. The cargo bay doors hissed open, revealing scattered containers and a trail of luminescent blue liquid. Not fuel, not coolant, blood. Please, help. The voice was childlike, melodic, emanating from behind a stack of supply crates. Marcus edged closer, his hand hovering over the emergency comm what he found stole his breath. 2 small figures huddled together, their skin shimmering like mother of pearl in the dim light. The older one, perhaps 8 years old by human standards, wrapped her arms protectively around a smaller child, their large eyes violet and gold, watching with terror and desperate hope. "I won't hurt you," Marcus whispered, slowly kneeling. "I'm a doctor." The older child's grip loosened slightly. "They killed our escorts. Our parents sent us away to safety, but the ships, they attacked. We hid in the cargo. Are you one of the merciful ones?" Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. "Yes, I'm one of the merciful ones." That night began 3 months of secrecy. He named them Lyra and Nova after constellations, and they lived in his private quarters, a space violation that could end his career. Marcus taught them English and human customs while they healed. Lyra proved quick and curious, asking endless questions about Earth. Nova was quieter, often drawing strange mathematical equations that Marcus couldn't comprehend. He taught them to laugh at terrible jokes and appreciate chocolate. Real chocolate, not the synthetic stuff. They taught him songs from their home world and stories of the Celestine people, refugees scattered across the galaxy. But security sweeps grew more frequent. Someone suspected something. The night their family ship arrived, Lyra clung to Marcus's neck. "We'll remember you," she whispered fiercely. "Forever. I promise." "Be safe?" Marcus managed, his throat tight. "Both of you." Nova pressed something into his palm, a small crystal that pulsed with soft light. "So you remember us too." He watched their ship disappear into Martian sky, knowing he'd never see them again. He was wrong. 22 years had weathered Marcus Chen in ways Mars never could. At 47, silver threaded through his dark hair, and fine lines mapped the corners of his eyes, evidence of too many late nights and a marriage that had crumbled under the weight of secrets he could never share. The clinic in New Seattle's lower district was modest, treating dock workers and immigrants who couldn't afford the gleaming hospitals uptown. It wasn't prestigious, but Marcus had stopped chasing prestige after Mars. Some nights, alone in his apartment above the clinic, he'd hold the crystal Nova had given him, wondering if they even remembered the man who'd hidden them in a storage closet and taught them to play cards. The strange cases started on a Tuesday. First came a dock worker with crystalline formations growing under his skin, then a teacher whose blood work showed impossible genetic markers. By Friday, Marcus had documented 7 patients with symptoms that shouldn't exist, all traced back to exposure near the new orbital platform. He was analyzing samples when the bell chimed at 11 p.m. Rain hammered the streets outside, and Marcus almost ignored it. The clinic was closed. The bell chimed again. Insistent, cursing, Marcus descended the stairs and peered through the security glass. 2 women stood in the downpour, expensive coats soaked through, faces obscured by shadows and rain. "We're closed," he called. "Emergency services are—" Marcus Chun. The voice stopped his heart. Melodic, familiar, impossible. "We've traveled very far to find you." His hands shook as he disengaged the locks. The women stepped into the light, water pooling at their feet, and Marcus stumbled backward. She was breathtaking. They both were. The taller one had hair like spun moonlight cascading past her shoulders, her features sharp and elegant. Her companion was softer, darker, with eyes that held entire galaxies. But it was their bearing, the way they moved with fluid grace, the shimmer to their skin in certain light, that confirmed what his rational mind refused to accept. Lyra, his voice cracked. Nova, the taller woman smiled, and Marcus saw the 8-year-old girl who'd once peppered him with questions about dinosaurs and democracy. Hello, Marcus. We told you we'd never forget. Nova stepped forward, her hand reaching out to touch his face with infinite gentleness. You've grown older, more beautiful. I don't, how? Why? Marcus couldn't form coherent thoughts. They were here, real, grown into women who made his clinic feel impossibly small. We need to talk, Lyra said, her voice carrying new authority. Somewhere private. What we have to say will change everything. Marcus led them upstairs in a daze, his mind racing through impossible calculations. They'd been children. Now they stood in his living room, sophisticated and powerful, and he felt like he was dreaming. The mission that brought us here is dangerous, Lyra began, accepting the towel he offered. But we chose this assignment because it meant finding you. We owe you our lives, Marcus-chun. We've come to repay that debt. And Nova added softly, her eyes meeting his with unnerving intensity, because some promises transcend time. The rain continued its percussion against the windows as Lyra and Nova shed their coats, revealing attire that blended Celestine elegance with human fashion. Marcus couldn't stop staring, his mind struggling to reconcile memory with reality. You need to understand what you did for us, Lyra said, settling onto his worn couch with unconscious grace. When you hit us on Mars, our people were being hunted, genocide, scattered across systems. Those 3 months you gave us, they allowed our family to regroup, to find sanctuary. We survived because of you. I just gave you a place to hide, Marcus managed, still standing awkwardly in his own living room. Nova moved to his bookshelf, fingers trailing across spines. You gave us more than shelter. You gave us hope, stories, laughter. She pulled out a battered copy of Whitman's poetry, one he'd read to them during those long Martian nights. You taught us that humanity could be kind. We've risen high in our society because of that foundation, Lyra continued. I'm now a chief ambassador. Nova is our lead cultural liaison. We've spent 2 decades preparing for this. First contact negotiations between the Celestine Coalition and Earth's united government. Marcus finally sank into a chair. First contact? But there have been dozens of species. Making temporary agreements, never full integration. We're proposing something unprecedented. A merged council, shared technology, open borders. Lyra leaned forward, and Marcus caught her scent. Something like jasmine and ozone. We need someone humanity trusts who also understands us. We need you, Marcus. I'm just a clinic doctor now. I'm nobody. You're the man who risked everything for 2 alien children, Nova said softly, kneeling beside his chair. Her proximity made his pulse quicken. You're exactly who we need. The weeks that followed blurred together. Marcus found himself thrust into briefings, meetings with government officials, learning protocols he'd never imagined. But the real revelation was rediscovering Lyra and Nova themselves. Lyra had become formidable, commanding rooms with a word, negotiating with brilliant precision. Yet in quiet moments, usually late at night when they reviewed documents in his apartment, Marcus glimpsed a curious child who'd once asked him why humans feared death. We live longer than you, she explained one evening, her shoulder brushing his as they studied star charts. 300 years, perhaps more. That's why this is complicated. What is? She turned, her face inches from his. You saved us when we were children. But we're not children anymore, Marcus. And what I feel when I'm near you. She paused, something vulnerable breaking through her diplomat's mask. It's not gratitude. Before Marcus could respond, Nova appeared in the doorway with tea. Her expression flickered, pain quickly masked, and Marcus realized with dawning comprehension that whatever was building between him and Lyra, Nova felt it too. The mission launch is in 2 weeks, Nova said quietly. You'll need to decide soon if you're joining us. Marcus looked between them. These extraordinary women who'd somehow returned to upend his ordinary life. I've already decided. Where you're going, I'm going too. Lyra's smile could have lit cities. But Nova turned away, and Marcus glimpsed tears glittering in her eyes. The Celestine vessel Meridian's hope was a marvel. Living architecture that responded to thought, corridors that shifted like breathing tissue, and observation decks where the cosmos stretched infinite and humbling. Marcus had been aboard for 3 weeks, traveling toward the neutral station where negotiations would occur, and every day felt like waking from one dream into another. His quarters adjoined Lyra's workspace, and they fell into a rhythm. Mornings reviewing cultural briefings, afternoons and strategy sessions, evenings alone together as the ship hummed through folded space. "Tell me something true," Lyra said one night, both of them standing before the observation window. Earth now, just a memory behind them. She'd shed her formal robes for something simpler, and her hair caught starlight like fiber optics. "I think about those 3 months on Mars constantly," Marcus admitted. "I think about how I didn't save you. You saved me. I was so lost back then, so isolated. You both reminded me why I became a doctor." Lyra's hand found his, her skin warm and alive. "I used to dream about you. Growing up, learning to navigate our world. I'd wonder what you were doing. If you thought of us. If you'd—" She hesitated. "If you'd see me differently now." Marcus turned to face her fully. "Lyra, you know this is complicated, inappropriate." Her laugh held an edge. "You cared for us as children, and now I'm propositioning you like some storybook romance. I know how it sounds." "That's not what I was going to say." Marcus cupped her face, feeling the slight luminescence beneath her skin. "I was going to say this is terrifying. You're extraordinary. You're going to live centuries. I'm already aging, already." She kissed him, cutting off his protests. It was tentative at first, a question, but Marcus answered by pulling her closer. She tasted like stardust and promises, and when they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marcus knew there was no going back. They made love that night beneath alien stars, Lyra's body against a revelation of similarities and beautiful differences. The way her skin glowed brighter with arousal, how she gasped his name in 2 languages, the strength in her frame that could have broken him but instead held him with infinite care. Afterward, tangled in sheets that adjusted to their body temperature, Lyra traced a scar on his shoulder from a childhood accident. "I love you," she whispered. "I've loved you since I was 8 years old. It changed as I grew, became something else, but it was always love." Marcus kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. "I love you too. God help me, I do." The next morning, Nova was waiting outside his quarters. She looked devastated and composed simultaneously, as if she'd spent the night preparing her expression. "We need to talk. Privately." In her workspace, filled with art and equations, beauty and logic intertwined, Nova finally let her mask crack. "I can smell her on you," she said without accusation. "Celestine's senses are acute. Nova, Let me finish." She paced, graceful even in distress. "I've loved you my entire life, Marcus. Differently than Lyra, perhaps. Quieter, but no less real. When we left Mars, I cried for months. I learned everything about human culture because it connected me to you. I became who I am because I wanted to be worthy of the man who showed me kindness." Marcus felt his heart splitting. "You are worthy. You're incredible. But Lyra and I know." Nova's smile was brave and broken. "I know, and I would never, could never, compete with my sister. I just needed you to know, so I could start letting go." A proximity alarm shattered the moment. The ship shuddered, and Lyra's voice came through the comm system. "Hostile vessels detected. The extremist faction found us. Battle stations." Chaos erupted across the Meridian's hope. The extremists, a militant group opposing integration, had tracked them through folded space, their ships bristling with weapons that could tear the diplomatic vessel apart. Marcus raced the bridge, finding Lyra commanding responses with icy precision. Shield integrity at 60%. "Nova, I need alternative routes plotted now." Nova's fingers flew across holographic interfaces. her face a mask of concentration. There's a debris field 3,000 kilometers ahead. If we can reach it. Another impact. The ship screamed. We won't make it at this speed. Lyra said, we need someone to manually reroute power from the tertiary systems. It requires entering the engine core. I'll go, Marcus said immediately. No. Lyra grabbed his arm, fear cracking her composure. The radiation exposure, even with protection, humans can't survive. Then explain the procedure. Quickly. Nova pulled up schematics, her voice steady despite the terror in her eyes. Here, these conduits. But Marcus, this is suicide. Not if I'm fast. He looked between them. These two extraordinary women who'd shaped his life twice. I didn't save you 22 years ago, just to lose you now. Lyra kissed him desperately. Come back to me. Nova pressed her hand to his heart. Be the merciful one. The engine core was beautiful and deadly. Streams of contained energy that could power cities or vaporize flesh. Marcus worked with shaking hands, following Nova's instructions to his comm while the ship shuddered around him. Alarm shrieked. His radiation badge turned yellow, then orange. Almost there, he gasped, connecting the final conduit. Now! Nova shouted. Get out now! Marcus ran as power surged, the engines roaring to new life. The ship leaped forward, debris field swallowing them, hostile vessels unable to follow. He collapsed in the corridor, coughing, his vision swimming. When he woke 3 days later, Lyra sat beside his bed, holding his hand. She looked exhausted and radiant with relief. The radiation? He croaked. Our medical technology healed most of it. You'll live. She laughed through tears. You reckless, brave, impossible man. Nova appeared with water, helping him drink. The extremists retreated. We reached the station. Negotiations begin tomorrow, and it's largely because you bought us time. The next weeks were a blur of diplomacy and recovery. The accord was signed. Humanity and the Celestine Coalition formally united. Marcus worked alongside both sisters. But the rhythm had changed. Nova still helped, still cared. But she found her own path forward, mentoring younger diplomats with wisdom beyond her years. One evening, she found Marcus and Lyra on the observation deck, wrapped in each other's arms. I'm happy for you both, Nova said, and meant it. Truly, you deserve this joy. You deserve it too, Marcus told her. She smiled mysteriously. I'm learning that love takes many forms. I'll find mine. She kissed his cheek, then her sister's. But I'm grateful I learned what love was from you first. 5 years later, Marcus stood in a garden that shouldn't exist. Earth flowers thriving in Celestine soil. 2 worlds made one. His hair was fully silver now, and his joints ached on cold mornings. But Lyra loved him with an intensity that defied time. Their daughter, Arya, aged 3, with her mother's luminescent skin and her father's curiosity, chased butterflies between the flowers. Nova visited often, now partnered with a kind Celestine engineer who built her impossible sculptures. Do you regret it? Lyra asked, watching Marcus watch their daughter. Choosing this life? You're aging, and I'm not. Marcus pulled her close, breathing in the jasmine and ozone scent that meant home. Every moment with you is a gift. However many I get, it's enough. It's not enough, she whispered fiercely, but it's ours. And under the double sunset of their new shared world, surrounded by the family they built from an act of kindness decades ago, Marcus Chin knew he lived exactly the life he was meant to live. Some rescues, he'd learned, saved everyone involved. The end.